Hi, it's Sharon, creator of the Win the Interview, Get the Job Interview Skills Training Program. In this video, I'd like to talk about interview skills and why they're so important. During my career, I began to ask questions about what it is that makes some candidates more successful at interviews than others, even though on paper they have the same skills and experience to offer than the other candidates they're competing against. The answer is that the winning candidate is the one who has figured out that the skill to perform well in the job is very different to the skill that's required to perform well in the interview. Let me give you an example. I'd like to use a typical scenario that I've encountered, and I know many employers out there have encountered it as well. Let's take a typical example of two candidates competing for the same job. Let's call them John and Mary. Both have made it to the final round interview and they have similar skills, qualifications and experience. They both really want the job and the employer sees the value in both of them, but the employer has to make a decision. During the interview, the interviewer notices some key differences. John connects with the interviewer, Mary doesn't. John has come up with solutions to company challenges. Mary, on the other hand, hasn't thought about that. John is brimming with self-confidence. Mary looks a little nervous. John gives great answers to the questions and impresses the interviewer with his insight and quick thinking. Mary, on the other hand, is a little slow off the mark. So in the end, the employer decides to hire John over Mary. What was the real difference between John and Mary? There's no difference in terms of skill or talent on paper, but when it came to the interview, John had better interview skills than Mary. During the interview, John was in the driving seat, Mary was a passenger. John went into the interview with a plan, Mary didn't. Going into a job interview without a plan is like getting into your car and setting off on a journey without a roadmap and just expecting to arrive at your destination. Most people are smart enough when they set out on a journey they're not familiar with to bring a roadmap, because they've learned from experience that there might be no-go areas they need to avoid, or there might be tricky terrain ahead that they'll need to navigate, or there might be a shortcut that it would be helpful to know about. The exact same principle applies when you're going for a job interview. You need to know the terrain ahead. That's the job interview questions which are likely to come up. You need to be aware of the danger spots. They're the challenging interview questions that are really going to test you. And you also need to know what the shortcuts are. And these are the specific areas that really matter to the employer so that you can hone in on them and talk about them during the interview, instead of focusing your answers on a bunch of other stuff you thought was important to the interviewer but really isn't. So having great interview skills not only gives you a plan of action, or what I like to call a job interview roadmap, it also gives you a whole toolkit of different approaches and tactics that you can use during the interview as and when you need them. So let's take this a step further and look at some of the benefits of having great interview skills. One of the first benefits is you're going to be better prepared, and that means you're going to know how to very quickly position yourself as the solution to the employer's needs and challenges. You're going to know the questions which are likely to come up, so you're not going to be fazed by them during the interview when they arise. You will have practiced your answers in advance of the day, so you're going to be able to speak with confidence and influence. You're also going to have the upper hand on the competition, because you're going to know tactics and ways to set yourself apart from the others who are going for the job. Having great interview skills also gives you more self-confidence and more self-belief, and so you're going to be going into the interview feeling positive about yourself and positive about the interview. This positive energy that you bring with you into the interview is then felt by the interviewer, making it much more likely for them to hire you over someone who comes across as a little shaky or unsure of themselves. And finally, the great news is that interview skills are learnable. The people who are successful in interviewing aren't any different from you or I. They're just ordinary people who've figured out that the best way to be successful is to find out what it is successful people do and then do the same. So now you have a really good idea of what it is successful job candidates do during the interview to get the job offer. I sincerely hope that you found this information helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.